Um, I'm trying to figure out. I invited a guest. I invited Mocha as a guest, more just to check things out and iron out some of the details of getting this thing to work. So I may not be able to see some of the conversations. Um, let's see. All right, I got live chat on. Hopefully, I'll be able to see when they pop up. Um, just taking this out for a test drive and see how it works. And of course, test drive means lots of mistakes, lots of stumbling around, as you can see by my speech. And um, if she pops in, I don't know if she'll do it for long or not, or partake in a conversation. Regardless, I'm here to talk, as always. I had mentioned in my burpee chat afterwards, Neil Cassidy, Dean Moriarty. Boy, I'm having some trouble today. Of On the Road fame. And I am not that fast of a talker. I have lots of pauses, lots of ums and ohs and ahs. See? But I still I believe in the art of conversation as far as scratch that. I believe in the art of dialogue, self-dialogue. Just talking, airing things out and seeing what comes. Seeing what comes next. And there's always a next. It's always a flow, influx. No conversation is static. I think that's why I prefer the term dialogue when I can remember to say it, because we are in dialogue with everything. Conversation's an awesome word too. We are in conversation with everything. Our body is in conversation with itself, from cell to cell, from body part to body part, from blood flow, brain function, vibration, vibratory nature of who we are, and that conversation continues to the immediate, intimate environment of air, a little bit further to grass and to trees and to the sky, to birds, to animals, onwards through the universe. It's all one vast conversation. Can we hear it? Yes, but we need to learn to pause. It can't be a one-sided conversation. We're not just talking, we're receiving at the same time. And that's the remarkable thing, is scientists are now hearing the hum of the universe. Pretty remarkable, as the yogic seers of old, the ancient seers, heard that a millennium ago. They heard that hum of the universe, the great Om, a long, long time ago, prehistory. Early man heard it. We were in touch with the hum of the universe, and we vibrated along with it. We were vibratory beings. And we lost that first through our own mind chatter. Farther along, and that's the voice of the ego. Further along, we lost it through the noise of the world, the self-created noise of the world, because we sought to drown our own inner voice out by creating more outer noise. The trick is, go back to that hum of the universe, and we find that it is based in silence, that it's a great, great vibration. And that silence is reality, is our reality. Everything springs from that primordial silence, vibrating outwards as things, as sounds, as thoughts, as beings. But the primordial silence remains the same nonetheless. So how do we get there? We return the same vibratory route that we left. Meditate, breath work, yoga, anything that brings us back to stillness, qigong, being out in nature. The more time we spend in nature, the more time our own inner voice diminishes. And then we hear what Herman Melville said is the only voice of God, silence being the only voice of God. Silence does not necessarily mean the absence of sound. Silence is that great allowance that sound emerges from. That's the word I'm looking for. I almost stretched myself into a word that I'm not quite sure that I can pronounce, so I cut it short. Not necessary. You're going to hear me stumble across all kinds of words today, and however long this conversation is, maybe if it's not a whole lot of guests or a lot of visitors, maybe wrap it up in 30 plus again. If I'm on a roll, if people come by, if we talk training, who knows? I think the PR is over an hour, like an hour and 10 minutes. It's a lot of training talk, actually. So you don't have to hear my own. Well, you hear my own voice, but you don't have to hear my own ideas floating around, because then we start talking training. It's a nice break from what I'm doing right now, which is just again that self conversation brought forth and offered back to the universe for all the wonderful inspiration it has given to me. Everything I write is truly, truly inspired. Comes from absolutely nowhere to my desktop, my keyboards, to my fingers, to my mind, and then I write whatever. Doesn't have to be good. It's not here for me to judge. And then I don't share it for others to judge, although they might. Anytime you read a creative output by someone, there'll be someone who wishes to judge. And that's absolutely fine. I almost said, well, that's their nature, which isn't true. That's their conditioning. Their nature is judgeless, without judgment at all, without casting a single stone. That's their true nature. So hopefully I can write something. If I haven't, maybe I will. That helps return people to silence and they return to the true nature. And it can't be judged because it's just words. It's not important. I'm not writing anything earth shattering. I'm not writing a great novel or epic poetry. I'm not Walt Whitman. I admire his writing quite a bit, though. I'm not Herman Melville. I'm just a guy who wakes up very early, extremely early in the morning, and I meditate, and then I sit, and I wait, and I sip my coffee, 1 cup a day. Paul from Oregon, and I talk about that. 1 cup of coffee a day. His advice: get a bigger cup. Excellent advice from Paul from Oregon. Not just in coffee drinking, burpees as well, music as well, probably all kinds of things. Maybe most specifically, farm life. Check them out. I really need to post some links to my friends beneath, but it seems kind of pointless because I think everyone who visits here is a burpee friend of some sort. So it still would be a good thing, good habit to get into. So I wake up, I meditate, I sit, and I listen. I wait. I'm not even waiting. Waiting almost implies anticipating. And you can't anticipate when words will come. You can just be ready to receive when they do. So I sit and I put myself aside. I become receptive. Again, you can't get ready to do that stuff. You can't prepare yourself to be receptive. You can only be receptive. So I sit. Words come when words come. And I write. I don't heavily edit. I might make a few changes if I catch some glaring mistakes. I don't rewrite. I can't even think of it. I might rearrange a few words, but I really can't think of a time when I looked at something and said, I'm going to rewrite this. Because it is what it is. I was given it. Part of the creative process. It's senseless for me to remove myself from that and say, well, this was channeled. something else came through. Nothing else came through. I am a participant in the action and the motion of writing, not separate from that inspiration, and yet not responsible for it either. I'm in direct connection with it. For something to be given, there needs to be something there to be received. And in fact, it's the same exact thing. The given is the received, and the received is the given. No lines are drawn. My inspiration is your inspiration. I put it out there on my blog, but yours might be different. Yours might be music, it might be painting, it might be designing Burpee programs. I've mentioned this before. My friend Burpee Manny is a true programming genius. The way he can construct a routine in his head, put it on paper, and then do it with his body is just amazing to witness the whole process. And to have it to be that effective of a routine. Again, it's simply everyone, and I'm sure his genius flourishes in other directions as well. This is just the one little thing that I'm privy to. When you have your online YouTube connections, your YouTube friends, just a small little snippets of our lives are revealed to each other. I probably give more of mine away when I do these talks, but that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give stuff away, not prizes, not cash prizes, not cars. I'm not Oprah. I like Oprah. Don't get me wrong. But what I give away is my own inspiration, my own thoughts and ideas. By my own, I don't mean mine exclusively. Truly, they're ours. Just as they're channeled exclusively through me, they become shaped by whatever it is that's appearing as me. This selfless self expression, emotion, verb. I mentioned before, in Kabbalah, they talk about that we are verbs, we're not nouns. Motion, action, constantly fluid, constantly in flux, constantly becoming, ceasing, becoming again. So where would inspiration flow to? Not a specific place or person, it just flows. If I'm lucky, if I'm fortunate, I'm right there when it happens. This open receptivity of Eric. That's a nice expression. This open receptivity of Eric. I hope I remember that. And I might actually write something about it. Because that sums me up. There's the action of writing, there's the action of listening, but there's the action of being me. And the best description that I have right now in this moment is the one that just occurred to me: open receptivity. Maybe I could find a way of streamlining that a little bit, not so difficult on the tongue. Although I've said it, 3-4 times, and I haven't stumbled over it yet. Open receptivity, number 4. We'll see how many times I can say that in the course of this conversation we're having without messing up. The count is 4. I'll try not to beat a dead carrot. I don't want to say dead horse. As as a vegan, even as a non-vegan, who wants to beat a horse dead or otherwise? I never actually understood that expression. Well, I guess I do. They're basically saying when the way forward that we're used to has stopped, find another way. Don't drag the horse. The Buddha said, likened his teachings to a raft. And when you are at the river, you use the raft to get to the other shore. But once there, you no longer need to carry that particular raft with you. So the teachings of the Buddha will get you to whatever point the teachings of the Buddha will get you. May be different for everyone. Which I've studied my share of Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not a Christian. I am. I'm probably best served by calling myself what I believe Robert Saltzman calls himself, a beingist. Even that has an ist. Beingist, Christian, Buddhist. There's always something. There's the story of um, the Zen monk who received instructions from his master of not becoming anything, and he didn't understand what that was. And they were traveling together. And they became very tired. They went into a barn to catch some sleep. A few hours before the sun came up, and they began their travels again. And the farmer stumbled upon them and immediately asked who they were. And the young Zen monk said, "Oh, I'm a Zen monk, a beginning student, traveling through your vast lands. We needed a place to rest." And the owner of the farm said, "I hate Zen Buddhist." I don't know why, for whatever reason. For the sake of the story, he had a very good reason. This is my own version of the story, by the way. And he told his farmhands, his guards, his workers to beat up the young monk and throw him out. It was raining too. Throw him out in the rain. And then they asked the Zen monk, the wise master, "And who are you?" And he didn't say anything. And they asked him again. They demanded, "Who are you?" And he just looked and he smiled and didn't say anything. And the farmer said, "Obviously, this man is simple. There's something wrong with him. Throw him out too, but don't beat him." So he was thrown out in the rain, and they're walking. And the young pupil says to his master, "Why did they beat me and not you?" And the master said, "I told you not to become anyway." I wonder if this little story is going to make any sense in a review if people watch it and they think, "What is this guy talking about?" So what I'm talking about is we become in our own heads, and we become to other people. We tell stories of who we are. None of that is ultimate reality. Maybe real in a sense. There's a difference between reality and what's real. What's real is beingness, presence, emptiness, silence. That's reality. Okay. Then we have what we become: our jobs, our name, our thoughts, our projects, our cleverness. To go back to what we talked about a couple of days ago, the Rumi poem, selling our cleverness for bewilderment. It's a good word for what the Zen master had: bewilderment. And the farmer looked at him and could not understand that bewilderment, so he threw him out without laying a hand on him. Through bewilderment, we're not anything, but we're not removed from anything either. Where the vast nature of the universe and everything is occurring within us. So that is the story of not becoming. Question might be, how do we do that? And the answer is we don't, because we already are. What we can do is realize that becomingness resides from nothing. So that is, hey Mocha. I'm just talking as usual, rambling on without an feedback. My conversations seem to go wherever they go. Of course, I think even with visitors, my conversations tend to go wherever they go. But what I've been talking about is the art of not becoming, which isn't necessarily separate from becoming. It's not two things. Our becomingness comes from not being anything, beingness itself. And then we become the stories that we tell ourselves. We become, yeah, meandering is a good word. That's was Mocha's reply, meandering. Um, that becoming comes from being, and yet beingness always remains. Becoming doesn't, because we're not always one job. We're not even always one personality. A personality appearing, and it might be a separate personality for separate occasions. What's called for. So it all comes down to beingness itself, our original nature. Nature being the key word for me, because what we are is nature itself. No different or separate in essence than any other aspect of nature. Different and distinctive in appearance, in thought, in a variety of ways, but in essence, it's beingness itself, not separate things. Separate things don't emerge from one origin, and the only origin there is life. Life being far, far deeper than what we basically imagine. That, in essence, life comes from where? From wherever life comes from. Who am I to say where life comes from? I don't know. But I do know I'm not outside of it in any possible way. That not even death is outside of it in any possible way, because death is simply a rearrangement of particles, a rearrangement of molecules. As I mentioned quite often, that we are breathing in molecules that belong to Leonardo da Vinci. We're breathing in particles that made up the body of Shakespeare. We are parts of them. We are parts of volcanic ash of thousands of years ago. We are parts of continental shift. We are, in essence, of blood. No separation, no difference from the ocean. No, I did not say the oranges of life. Although we cannot separate oranges from origins. I'm actually rather surprised that I was able to say that, those two together, without mangling the syntax. Is that the right word that I'm looking for? The syntax. Um, I was on a roll and I had to go and ruin it with um, saying something that I'm not sure. Um, oh well, that's how it is. This morning, speaking of nature, I wrote about wetlands on my blog. If you guys get a chance, come visit my blog. I need to post a link. I always forget. Um, it has everything that I've ever written, aside from a few political rants that I put up on Facebook that I don't really share on my blog. My blog is really just for um, the expression of the moment, and it's not reserved for rants or anything. Let's see. I saw Mocha. I have been gross in the past as to what other molecules from people you have breathed in. That doesn't sound like me, actually. I think he might be mistaken for someone else. I'm generally a rather sensitive young soul, adverse to making crude comments about stuff like that. It goes against my poetic nature. So we'll see what she has to say about that. So yeah, if you ever visit my blog, um, everything that I've written that I value for the past, um, I did actually on my blog. Milk asked if I got the photos. She took photos of the many wetlands that dot my neighborhood, um, which I absolutely love. I love all wetlands, from swamps to bogs to marshes. Um, what other words, Piedmont, um, might come out. And I used it in my blog image for this. That was actually the thing of my the topic, the thing, the topic of my blog was not on wetlands so much, but on my personal neighborhood wetlands. These little tiny spots that haven't truly relinquished. Um, sure, let's see. Lucas says, namely the farts of our ancestors, and again, that just doesn't sound like me. To make a fart joke, the lowest form of humor. If anyone looks at this video at a later time, honestly, look at me and the conversation we're having. Does it really seem like I'm the type of person that would resort to a fart joke? At the end of this video, when I'm done, I am going to ask you all to pull my finger. Um, so, of Wetlands was the title, and I may or may not read it. I tend to stumble when I read my words, and yet I'll have a conversation about my words and not really stumble at all. Weird, could be because I'm reading them on the screen. No, I don't have the things that I write memorize, little snippets, but you know, I got more important things in my head, like my phone number. Actually, yeah, my phone number, things like that, my address, things that I need for basic survival skills. So I write something and I let it go. Um, there's little small wetlands that dot my neighborhood. Actually, dot this part of Maryland. My favorite bookstore, unfortunately, was built on wetlands um, 30 years ago, just about 30 years ago, I guess. And I love the bookstore, but I'm sad that our diminishing wetlands was given for a shopping development of any kind, even a bookstore. My preference would have been to not have it turn out that way. Um, the thing with these little wetlands, they don't always appear to be that way until um, maybe heavy rain, maybe even a light rain, but the land quickly reasserts itself as to what it actually is. It may stay that way for a few days. Some of the little wetlands areas stay that way all the time. And you can see by the plants, even if the water recedes, you can see by the plants what that ground is. Just waiting again for the moment to reassert itself and be what it always is. Um, that's the thing with nature. We've all seen the flower, the dandelion, that pops up through a crack in the sidewalk. Nature reasserting itself doesn't mean that a city street, in some ways, is no less nature than anything else. Different. It's nature. It might have lost its edge of wildness, but it has potentiality to always return. Lewis, how are you? Um, just talking about nature, particularly wetlands. Um, why we have an affinity for certain things and areas. Who knows? It's just a spontaneous um, nature of the soul. The same with deserts, mountains too, forests. They've always called for me. Being in the desert is um, good. Glad you're feeling good, Lewis. Um, I saw your crazy psycho burpees today. Um, I've yet to ever try one. Sometime I will. The first one will not be on camera. I can promise you that, my friend. Deserts really have that deep silence, and I think that's what our body and our minds respond to. We're instantly drawn in, and that is why every holy pilgrimage has taken place in the desert. We're in the high mountains, the deep forest, those places of quietness that um, call to the soul and remind us instantly of who we are. Um, yeah, I can see how the psycho burpees, Lewis says, that definitely works the shoulders. Um, if you guys, anyone pops in and watches this, if you don't know what it is, um, definitely check out um, It Is What It Is YouTube. And uh, again, if I can remember, I'll post the link that um, basically it's one badass burpee. I can't even describe it. I can't even give it a good definition other than continuous explosive motion. I guess there you go. That's the best way to say it. Continuous explosive motion. Um, let me bring this up. I appreciate you too, Lewis. What you bring to the community, passion, intensity, not to mention support, um, is no short of amazing. Uh, all three. I was about to say, particularly the intensity, um, but I spent most of this conversation talking about the uh, not separating things, not making those distinctions, and I really can't say that your support is any less than your intensity, um, because you give you all to all of that. You give you all to the support that you put out there, as well as to the intensity of your workout. So that is much inspired, which actually means quite a bit to me. I mentioned quite a bit. Um, I don't need motivation. Uh, Maybe in small doses, every once in a while you need that little kick in the ass to get you out the door. Let's say I seldom need motivation. However, I'm always appreciative of inspiration. I'm always inspiration being more of an inward quality. Motivation is that outside stimulus, um, that again gets you going when you just need something to get you going. Inspiration is that inner essence that says, it whispers to you, it never shouts. There's no need for inspiration to shout. Motivation is loud. Inspiration is the quiet voice of the soul saying, do this. That's it. And because we have no choice in the matter, we do it. Motivation gives us a choice. Motivation, we can say, not today. Thank you, motivation, but I'm hitting the snooze button. Or we shout back, yes, let's get it. And we have a great workout. That happens too. But inspiration, we give it a quiet yes. We don't even have to say yes. We nod. We don't even have to nod. We do. That's the gift of inspiration. Um, and it's a rare gift that someone can give that, give it away freely. My friend Lewis, It Is What It Is, God above all, um, has that gift, as do quite a few of the people in the burpee community. That's the amazing thing about the burpee community to me. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to put my own stuff out there, my own um, workouts, was to be part of that. I was inspired, wasn't motivated. No one shouted at me and said, "Do it." It's not necessarily true, because Paul from Oregon shouted at me and said, "Do it, put your workout up there. We want to see it," good naturedly. But Paul from Oregon also inspired me more so than motivated me. Um, Everyone everyone that I can think of that visits my channel has offered that type of motivation. And it's quite remarkable when you think of that there's that many people doing the same thing who have that gift of offering their best to other people and to the session that they're sitting there getting their work done in. Um, I don't know too many other places that do that. Certainly not Facebook. Um, I have decade-long friends, lifelong friends, um, who may or may not pick apart everything I say or do. Um, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that the nature of some forms of social media um, seems to bring that out, sadly, unfortunately. Not to everyone, but to some people. And some of the, like, YouTube and Twitter, where people can remain sort of anonymous. They feel that they can say things that they wouldn't want said to them, not in real life, not in reality, and they wouldn't say to others in reality. It's the nature of being a troll. And I've had a few trolls pop on, um, which is fine. It's the nature of the beast. You put up with it, you smile. Um, I can be as good natured to a troll as I am to anyone else who pops up here, but it still is a sad experience that is how someone would like to invest their energy. Overall, I've been pretty fortunate though. And like I said, that, you know, YouTube, uh, just on my burpee channel today, someone offered to, um, gave me some advice on the best way to adjust my camera for a better quality video. So far, it's been a positive experience. And it's people who pop in and say hi on my live talks as well as my burpee videos who have made it such a positive experience. That, my friend, seems like a good place to um, end it for the day. Just shy of 40 minutes, a little longer. I never know how long these things are going to be. Sometimes with visitors, um, especially when we start talking training, it'll go on well over an hour. Sometimes when it's just me talking and I don't have other visitors, it'll go on for over an hour. And I would just, Mocha says, as she actually said in the comments, I'll meander on. I likened it this morning to jazz. The jazz of my own voice, playing through the silence. The Neil Cassidy on the bus, going further, talking for the sake of filling the void with a conversation. And the void always remains empty, no matter what I have to say. And that's an amazing thing. Let's end it there. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.